For your best coffee at home, you only need 5 things. And the last 2 are what turns good coffee into something that truly feels like yours. Let's start with the first one, the foundation of every cup, your beans. Before we go down the list, I should say I've spent my whole life with coffee. Growing up as a second-generation coffee roaster and a brewmaster, I've seen all kinds of advice come and go. But after all these years, what it really comes down to are these 5 things. Simple but unshakable. Coffee can only be as good as the beans you start with. And quality doesn't just mean fresh. Freshness usually helps, but true quality begins much earlier, at the farm. Just like wine, it's about soil, climate, and the care that goes into the crop. Good green beans have the potential for great flavor notes. Then, roast comes in. Good roaster can bring out that potential, while a bad roast can ruin it completely. So, when I say good beans, I mean beans that were grown well and roasted with skill. That's the foundation of your best coffee. If you'd like to explore more about how roast and origin shapes flavor, I cover that in other videos. And remember, the last 2 things on this list are what truly takes coffee from good to personal, where it feels like your own. The second essential is water. Your coffee is just made of 2 things, beans and water. Coffee as a drink is simply the result of extraction. Water pulling out the qualities from the beans into your cup. That's why good water matters. And good water isn't one size fits all. At the very least, it means water doesn't cover up the coffee. Not overly treated, not carrying any odors, and not so extreme in minerals that masks the flavor. And water isn't only about what's in it. It's also about how you use it. The temperature of the water during brewing has a huge effect on extraction. And it's one of the key ways coffee shifts in flavor. This is something I teach in my course because water shapes coffee far more than most people realize. Even small changes here can completely transform what you taste. The third essential is a grinder. No matter what beans you use, grinding them fresh before you brew makes one of the biggest differences in flavor and aroma. Pre-ground coffee loses so much of its character the moment it's exposed to air. Whatever the grinder you choose, whether it's a simple blade grinder or a fancy machine with lots of control, the key is knowing how to use it. A more expensive grinder may offer a better consistency, but with the right approach, even a blade grinder can give you a solid result. And consistency alone isn't enough. If the grind size doesn't fit the beans and the brewing method, the coffee still won't show its best. A functional grinder is one you understand well enough to use effectively. So it helps you get closer to your best cup. I've gone deeper into this in another video about fancy grinder myth, so you can check that out if you want more detail. And keep in mind, having a grinder you can rely on isn't just about today's brew. It's also what makes it possible to make right adjustments later on, and that's where coffee really becomes personal. The fourth essential is knowing your own palate. And this is the most important part of the list. When people talk about best coffee, it almost sounds like there's one universal answer. But in reality, the best coffee is different for everyone. The way you start to understand your palate is by paying attention and giving yourself variety. Try different coffees, different roast, origin, and styles, and notice what you enjoy and what you don't. Over time, you'll start to see patterns. I've talked about this in another video, so you can check that out if you want to know more. The first three essentials, beans, water, grinder, all matters, but they can take many different forms. You can make great coffee with different beans, different water, or different tools. But if you don't know your own palate, you'll never recognize what makes it your best coffee. And that's why this point has to come before the next one. The fifth essential is understanding how to adjust. Once you know your own palate, the next step is learning how to move your coffee towards it. This is where brewing stops being a fixed routine and becomes a craft. If the flavor isn't where you want it, you need to know how to respond. That could mean changing grind size, shifting water temperature, rethinking brew time. Small changes that steer extraction. And this is where having a reliable grinder makes a difference, because grind size is often the first and most direct adjustments that you can make at home. Adjustment is really the heart of brewing. It's what allows you to bridge the gap between what's in the beans and what you taste in the cup. And it's also where coffee becomes deeply personal, because no one else can tell you exactly what to do. It's about learning how to connect technique to your own palate. This is the core of what I teach in my course. How to take those levers and use them with confidence to dial in a cup that matches your own taste. So those are the 5 things you need for your best coffee at home. Good beans, good water, functional grinder, knowing your own palate, and understanding how to adjust. Put them together, and that's when the coffee feels rewarding, because it reflects your own taste. Subscribe and join me again next week for more ways to explore coffee together. Thank you for watching, and have a wonderful coffee day.